In 1397 to 1495, powerful and influential time of the Renaissance, an era of rebirth, recovery, and revival. Rebirth, a time when thinkers adopted Roman and Greek thoughts and spread the knowledge and ideas from Florence to the rest of Europe. Recovery, a time when Europe recuperated from the horrifying spread of the Black Death and economic depression that led to widespread poverty. Revival, a time when powerful merchant families struggled for power over city-states in northern Italy that controlled the prosperous flow of the trade in the Mediterranean. One such family city was Florence, where trade was a part of everyday life. In the market, people exchanged goods including spices, silk, and other exotic goods transported from Asia, India, and the Middle East. Florence was a city based on a republican form of government where powerful, rich families such as the Medici introduced a system of banking that would bring enough wealth to pay for some of the greatest art and buildings ever made.
To better understand this time of rebirth, recovery, and revival, we began examining Florence. The city of Florence was the center of the trade during the time of the prodigious Renaissance. Since it was central to trades, the government was able to expose their people to new knowledge, which then spread to the rest of Europe. Additionally, it allowed Florence to be more emphatically prosperous, with the constant trade going in and out. Government from numerous city-states, such as Florence, Venice, and Genoa, formed various alliances. In the agreements, no city-state was allowed to be more powerful enough to threaten or even overthrow any other city-state. This encouraged them because it prevented the city-state from commencing war to gain control of other cities. Florence, as spoken before, was in the middle of the trade, which further helped remove conflict. Moreover, this agreement allowed city-states to focus their attention on improving their trade and wealth. A majority of Italian city-states began as a republic form of government, which was true in the city-state of Florence. By republic, we mean that there existed a state in which the supreme power rests in the body of citizens, entitled to vote and exercised by representatives chosen directly or indirectly by them. The more democratic form of government failed later due to struggles in power amongst powerful groups and families, which came to be due to expansion of trades. Frequently, the struggle for power within many city-states in an oligarchy form of government. This allowed the highest and wealthiest families to take power of Florence, such as the powerful, noble, and cunning Medici family. By this, I mean a form of government in which all power is vested in a few persons or in a dominant class of cliché government by the few. Under their leadership, Florence became the center of the Renaissance in Italy. As a result, the government which existed during the Italian Renaissance differed from Europe in general, was governed by a monarchy, whereas Italian city-states contained republics or oligarchies. In addition, the formation of republics was made possibly by urbanization, which formed Italy city-states. Peasants from Europe had decided they would move over to Italian city-states because they would be able to have a better life in cities, and including the nobles. Having a majority of the population immigrate to the cities, the city-states commenced to get more urbanized. As a result of urbanization, the surviving rural nobles became determined to move into the Italian city-states. The reason for this was because the nobles could not find enough laborers to work for them, and there were more opportunities for work in urban centers. Urbanization during the Renaissance has affected the world today. It influenced the government in North America to become a democracy since the cities began to urbanize.
Later on in this era, the families with the highest wealth governed Florence, especially the Medici family. It was during this time that Florence became the city of the Renaissance in Italy. By 1434, the Medici family was able to use their wealth to pay for social events, build extraordinary buildings, sponsor magnificent art, and much more. This made people pleased for all the glorious creations in Florence. It was sterling because the city became wealthier contributing to a good economy and a better life for many inhabitants. Having the Medici family in the lead, the city-state played a major role in the birth of Renaissance. The Medici family was one of the greatest government, but their rise to power was full of assassination and murder. Today, people say that the Medici family and Florence are synonymous because the family played such an important role in the city.
The Medici family was one of the greatest governments in Florence, but their rise to power was full of assassination and murder. Machiavelli, shortly after being tortured by the Medici and having his government job stripped, devised a way to get his job back. Machiavelli decided to write a book about how to gain power and retain that power. He named it The Prince. But instead of writing about how ethics and politics should be strictly connected, like any other political book at that time, Machiavelli took a whole new different approach. Machiavelli was one of the first people to suggest that ethics and politics should be kept separate. In his time, a lot of people believed that a ruler should have good ethics. Ethics means a set of moral principles that you live by. Machiavelli basically says that no matter what your ethics are, you must do whatever it takes to gain power. This meant anything from assassinating your enemies to bribing important people like the Pope. Machiavelli also believed that the Golden Age would return if they did exactly what the ancient Romans did. Many people in this time didn't agree with him about this because all of the philosophers and writers from that time said that good ethics were the key to power. These ideas were expressed in his book, The Prince. This book was published 5 years after Machiavelli died.
During the Renaissance in northern Italy, we saw a movement from a republican system of government, where people had a part in governing the city. However, changes occurred when powerful, wealthy merchant families took control of Florence. With the wealth, families such as the Medici family had found from trade, they used deceit, bribery, and kerning to get power. The Medici family turned their wealth into power by funding an array of creations, sculptures, and social events. They were able to translate wealth into control of Florence. Citizens felt they were in the most impressive city-state in Europe. People say that Medici family, Renaissance, Florence are synonymous.